It's a pleasure and an honor for me to be here today with you. I'll be sharing my screen a little bit because I want to first introduce myself, tell you a little bit about myself, and then just try to make it a conversation, right? About what are we doing and what is the approach of how we're using blockchain technology, and there's an AI component lately that I would love to share with you if it's okay. So my name is Daniel Uribe. I am the CEO and co-founder of biobank.io, and in 2015 I was involved in the blockchain world. I was participating in a executive program in Silicon Valley named Singularity University. And I heard for the first time about blockchain from the VP of engineering in Google back in those days, which was Peter Diamandis. So Peter Diamandis is kind of famous because of he was promoting the exponential organizations or exponential technologies, right? So I got in love and moved my family to Palo Alto, to Silicon Valley, to start exploring the cybersecurity aspect about the blockchains, because I think in essence, blockchain is a cybersecurity component. It's not by itself all the components that we need, but it's a very important one. But then in 2017, my youngest was diagnosed with a rare disease using a DNA test, right? So of course, we've been taking care of him. It's a rare blood disease. It was diagnosed with Glanzmann thrombosthenia. Since then, obviously, my life changed, but I got inspired as a parent and as a professional to explore more about the world of genomics. It was totally new for me, and I was obviously inspired to use the technology, the blockchain, to also start what we consider a concept, right? That it was very similar to a wallet, but now instead of holding cryptocurrencies, it will be able to be the cybersecurity component to hold the access to one of our most sensitive data sets, which is our genomic data. So we call this the bio wallet, and that's how Genobank was born. Genobank.io is basically, or its mission is to be your individual or your family genetic bank, basically, in the digital world. And the important thing is to safeguard, right, our, again, most sensitive data set, and obviously be able to combine it with the other data sets that you may have. So in 2017, the concept was born, and in 2018, I started working with some of the leaders in the blockchain space. Maybe you recognize the young person. Well, the two persons that I'm here very dear to me. The one that is at the left is of your screen is Vitalik Buterin. He's the creator of the second largest blockchain in the world, which is the Ethereum blockchain. And the first one is Bitcoin. And we have also explored how to use the Bitcoin blockchain, but Ethereum has more functionality for what our use case. So our use case, we named it the Bio NFT, or the Biosample consent tracking NFT. NFT is a token. It's basically a token. We will talk a little bit later about what is tokenization, right? Because this is one of the most important aspects that in terms of the world of computing needs to be very, very clear, right? So tokenizing, the way that I understand it is that you can identify bits and bytes in a certain context, right? For instance, for me, when we browse the internet and we accept the cookies that we accept to be recorded into our web browser, it's a type of token, right? Another type of very popular token is a credit card transaction, right? When we scan or we sign when we use our credit cards, a token is created to represent that specific transaction. And that token has a lot of data, right? What is the purchase, who is the merchant, what is the amount, and so on and so forth. So it's all the data around that transaction, and it's recorded as a token. So tokens are really old or not new. The main difference, if you're using tokens in the blockchain, is that these tokens are public, and this is really, really important. Why we needed public computation? The main reason is to be able to enable anyone to verify the existence or the validity or whatever makes sense about these tokens. In this case, the main reason to use a blockchain is to record consent, right? Is the most, let's say, powerful vote of trust that a patient has over their biosamples, right? Maybe somebody would agree or not, but personally, I think, I mean, it's not even a personal stand, is what the law says. I mean, it's a very lawful opinion that, for instance, a genome, right, the digital representation of our DNA, is only worth if it has a corresponding consent, right? Because you cannot use or even store a human genome without the proper consent, lawfully, right? So this is the base of what we're doing. So we talked with these two leaders. The other leader is William Entrike, and he's the lead author of the framework of the most famous token in the world of blockchains, in the feature that is a non-fungible, right? There are mainly two types of tokens. Well, maybe there are more, but the two main ones is the fungible tokens, that is like typical represents like a species of money, right? Which are the cryptocurrencies. And then we have the non-fungible tokens that represent unique real world assets, for instance. Or it could be also digital assets, but they are unique. They are not interchangeable. So we could talk one basic non-fungible token is a plane ticket, right? Because it corresponds to one seat, and you have different categories of the ticket. It's for a specific date, for a specific flight, so it's not necessarily interchangeable, right? So biosamples are non-fungible by nature, right? It corresponds to one patient, and it's a very specific, very unique. Because even if it's from the same person, usually the biosample is different, right? It has different epigenetics or different characteristics, right? So it's not fungible by nature, and these concepts are really important to justify the use of a public infrastructure, computing infrastructure as the blockchains, which also implies many things. So is worldwide. So now, like for instance, Ethereum has, I think, more than 100,000 nodes in more than 180 countries, and the nodes are being kept by citizens, basically. So it's an infrastructure for citizens, made by citizens, right? So it's no government can control it. No government can shut down the network, and basically Ethereum is a public computer. right? So you can issue these tokens. These tokens have a code, and basically you pay the network to run the code, right? And these two are one of the leaders. And in essence, we are capturing the digital rights of each biosample in each on each NFT. So it's corresponding NFT. So basically, we could say that these tokens are like licensed to use tokens, right? For each biosample. I have the privilege to publish 2 articles talking about that. The first one was in 2019. The first one was not peer-reviewed, but I think it's an interesting approach done by Professor Daniel Catchpool and I, which we were exploring right back in September 2019, why biobanking should be, I mean, it would be beneficial for biospecimens to have blockchain because of the, again, traceability. You can record the digital rights. You can basically have a lot of transparency toward all the stakeholders around a biosample, and more specifically, obviously, toward the patient, right? The second paper, I think I will share the links if somebody's interested. I think they're good articles. The second was it was a formal article. It was published by the British Blockchain Association. This is based in scientific method. And basically what we are trying to is open the conversation back in those days about how we could record the privacy laws or the privacy rights using a Ricardian contract, right? Ricardian contracts are digital contracts that can be read by a computer. The typical is a Roman contract. It's a human readable piece of paper that basically has like an agreement, right? In this case, is the same, but now we are recording the agreement into the blockchain in a smart contract, and we call this also a Ricardian contract, right? Because it's computer readable and computer executable as well. So it's basically if we agree on the terms of how I am going to consent to participate in a research program, then we can record that. And the first main advantage is that the conditions can change, so the contract. So you can update the contract, or you can substitute it. So you can issue a new contract with the new conditions if the spirit of the scope of the research changes, right? So this is because it's software, so it's malleable. That being said, all the transactions are immutable, so no one can change them in a coercive way, right? So nobody can hack the contract. So this is kind of the practical implementation. So if somebody would be so kind, if you're not using your phones to participate in the webinar, please be so kind to use your phone, the camera of your phone, to scan this QR code. I promise it's not malware. It's an example of one of the biosamples. So when people participate in research, usually they use one of this, right? At least, well, this is saliva too. It could be obviously other type of tissues, but usually this has a serial number, right? This has a serial number here, and we use that to create the unique identifier, and obviously the person registers it by consenting. I mean, it reads the consent and everything, and then the NFT is created. So if you would be so kind to scan this QR code, you will see what we call a Web3 biosample attribution explorer. So basically what we're recording is the attributions of the digital twin or the digital representation of the biosample. And let me make a small stop here, because I would love to know if there is any questions so far, or if any of the if there's a question, or we can maybe leave the questions to the end. But this is basically what this is the heart of why the blockchain can help biobanking.
I don't see any questions yet, Daniel, but maybe wait a minute.
Okay. In the meantime, I mean, this is basically the same topic, but it's the extended functionality of the NFTs, right? So in this next slide, I wanted to depict how the tokenization facilitates the biosample liquidity, right? It now makes the biosamples assets, right? Bioassets, if I may. So a biosample that is now represented by a bio NFT, it's basically now a consented, a transferable consented biosample, and you can do it within your phone, basically using your data wallet or your bio wallet, the BioData wallet, right? And in this picture, what is trying to explain is, like, we have the donor, it registers the biosample, it cryptographically signs the transaction, claims ownership over their biosample, and then obviously it legally protects the biobank A, right, represented with the first person, well, the person in the middle, which is usually the principal investigator of the biobank. And the rights or the consents or the license to use, it could be commercial, it could be non-commercial, only for research. So all the metadata that represents the agreement is recorded. The privacy of the person is really important. So we do not record any personal information in the blockchain. This is really, really important. We only record the conditions of the agreement that can be verified using blockchain methods. So the contract or the agreement, or in this case the consent and its characteristics, are recorded. How the donor is represented is by using the wallet. So the identity of the donor is protected behind the wallet. So in Genobank, all the participants are anonymous, right? So they have basically 40 bytes identifier, and no name, no email, no nothing. So everything, all the communication, all the signing is done by a cryptographic wallet. And in the other side, the researcher cannot be anonymous because of obviously the GDPR and usually the data laws requires to have a named account in order to protect the researcher. So basically, when we issue a consent, it protects all the stakeholders, but mainly the people or the person or the entity that is receiving the consent, right? It's a proof of consent kind of mechanism, where you can use, again, blockchain to prove, publicly prove that you have an active or a valid consent, right, for a specific biosample. There's a question. Okay, so how can we be sure that the donor is the person using or accessing the BioNFT? Well, that's a very good question, because we have access to 46 SNPs minimum for the patient. So there is a method where all the data is also has a SNP signature, right, or a single nucleotide polymorphism kind of signature. And this is a very good question, because also the next question after this one is, what happens if the donor loses its key, right? Because you can lose the cryptographic key, and in the cryptographic world, if you lose the key, you lose the access to your own vault, right? Or your bioNFT, right? In this case, luckily for our use case, you only need to send us a new sample to the laboratory where all the operations, or to the biobank, and we can perform a very simple and cheap procedure, which is just a 96 SNP pipeline, and we will be able to match your SNPs with the samples that are already stored, or the digital representation, and we use this. It's a technique that is not that known, which is Bloom filters. It's a type of privacy preserving filters that we can check that while we preserve the privacy of the patient as well. So that was a research done by Professor Bill Buchanan from the University of Napier and I, and that's also part of our technology. So it's a very good question, and is kind of long and complex, but yeah, there is a DNA signature, or it's a DNA proof as well, and this serves as well to us for to also recover the wallet in case of the people losing it. So what is the new thing? The last session that you had, I mean, some of you maybe were in the last in the previous webinar. The previous webinar, I believe it was about how we can use the new LLMs, right, to empower the patient. Well, this is a very similar case where you can, once you tokenize the sample. So this is a family now vault. We're using the family vault to store the information of pediatric age patients. So basically, we have a newborn, let's say. We tokenize, again, the sample, we give the control to the parents, and we create now not even a bioNFT, but also a virtual machine that is governed by the NFT, right? So the access is governed by it's a token gated virtual machine, right? So this is created on the fly. So let's say you want to run the bioinformatic pipeline, or you want to call the variants, the variant calling process, and then we can do that. So a virtual machine is created on the fly. It could be on cloud or on premise. Run the bioinformatics, extract the file, let's say the BCF, for instance, and then the virtual machine can be destroyed, right? The good thing about this, again, is that if I can enable additional relationships or connections using these tokens as well. So these are not only consent tokens, it's consent/access tokens, right? So again, I can go to the blockchain, verify the signature or the cryptographic identity of the researcher. It can be an AI researcher. We call in this case the OpenAI logo there as a researcher or a tool maybe. And obviously we have there a corporation that probably maybe is an insurance company or a data broker, and the family is not consenting right there. So that's kind of the example here. And again, it's a governance mechanism plus, now with AI, it's a governance plus an interpretation platform, because now ChatGPT can help to navigate your data set in a very basic level. So today the LLMs we're connecting do not intend to have a diagnosis, but it's more to solve the asymmetry of knowledge between the family and the specialist. Like the LLMs are really good to explain what is a variant, what is a missense variant, in a more understandable language, right? In a parent level language. If there is a gene involved, then there is a variant in a specific gene, then the LLM can explain what is the function of that particular gene, again, in a general, and why is related or could be related to maybe the disease that the pediatric patient is presenting, right? The phenotype of the patient. And again, this is just like to reinforce the last is again, you can trace, the researcher can also open additional sessions to the data or with the data set. In this case, we have now a tropic, which is Claude 3. We have, I mean, we want to, you know, use this diagram to say, okay, you can have a map of the journey of either the biosample or the data or both, right? Because now they are tokenized, they are liquid, and again, the family will always be in control, right? That's basically what I have for the session today. I wanted to use more of the time, if you like, to just open for questions or anything you like. But this is the center of Web3 / biobanking, right? It is how can I create digital twins and then a governance schema, digital governance, so I can have a more friendly or more transparent biobanking industry for specifically for the patients. And yeah, basically that's pretty much it. I think there's another question. Yeah, for Marianne, thank you very much for your question. A family by wallet, do each user parents have to consent? Oh, yes, that's programmable. It's a very good question. Thank you. It's however the family decides, right? There are different types of families, and we understand that they have their own governance rules. So it's programmable. So it could be combined. It could be just one, as you were suggesting, or you can even name a third one. Let's say maybe a lawyer, right, or a trustee that could sign on behalf of the family. In this case, usually also the biobank is a trustee, right, or it can be named a trusted party, and that is programmable. Yeah. It's a very good question as well. So again, Marianne, thank you very much for your question. It says, in the case of a dispute, would this have to go to court? Oh, that's a very interesting question. So no use cases so far, but yes, the good thing is that one of the main purposes of blockchain is to lower the cost of legislation, right? Is lower the cost of any legal controversies, because everything is recorded in the blockchain and it's immutable. So we have the closest that we have helped solve is paternity tests. As you may know, I mean, obviously, well, you know, it's 25 biomarkers, it matches, and then the laboratory authority signs the result, which is matching or not matching, right? And this generates a report that is cryptographically signed by the principal investigator and can be verified by the authority. And this solves any dispute, because now the document is immutable, and this is a very simple use case. In terms of other data, maybe like insurance claims and all the other use cases, we don't have a precedent yet, but I think it would be fantastic to serve this type of cases, and again, like speed them up or lower the cost of the of proving that something happened, right? But please, I think you are now here, but I don't know if there's an additional question or.
So I'm thinking that in the case of like saving cord blood or other types of precious samples from a birth, this could be a potential use.
Totally. The only prerequisite, at least in our protocol, is to have a unique identifier. So if it's maybe is the tube again, or the biosample or the biospecimen container, and if it's not available, then we can use again a DNA fingerprint. Like usually we use 48 SNPs or 96, depending on some of the biobanks. But yeah, those can be used to create the token, because the token, the only requisite is it has to have a unique identifier. That's the only thing. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Marianne. Super good questions. Thank you.
We have another question, Daniel, from would individuals automatically receive updates on how their samples are being used, e.g. through emails or push notifications? Or would they need to inquire about this?
What happens if a patient passes away? Is there a way to transfer their account to family? Yes, very good questions. So for the first part of the question, everything today is done by the wallet. So wallets now have services of cryptographic messages, like text messages. They are not super efficient and not very user-friendly. I mean, it's not like WhatsApp or Telegram that are super friendly and you can put emoticons or emojis. but it serves that purpose. The other way to communicate with a patient is again, you as a biobanker now, you're able to also create tokens and give them to all your network. Let's say you have an invitation to participate to research, so you can issue an invite NFT, right? And this is already done in other circuits, like for parties or for events. If you accept the token, you'll receive the invitation and you'll become a member, right? So it's a new communication channel, basically a wallet. This is the main friction of the ecosystem, is where the pain is, or the adoption. Not everybody is comfortable using a wallet. Not everybody has even use a wallet, and that's to be totally transparent. That's the main friction of the ecosystem right now, like the use of wallet. It's possible to put an email. We have that available. So you can create now on Genobank a wallet using your Google account, like signing with your Google account. We do not recommend that because then an email is linked, right, to your wallet. And we like to provide as much anonymity as possible, but it's possible. So it's up to the user if they want to use an email or not. And then if the email is available, then yes, the communication can be done through the email, which will be obviously more user-friendly, but is less privacy, right? Unless, I mean, the email also is not related to the person, or it's privacy preserving email, right? There are some of them out there as well. For the second part of the question, so what happens if a patient passes away? So the good news is that we have some DNA data, right? So we can like receive the sample at the request from a family member, and we can prove through the 96 SNPs that it's a relative. Let's remember, like even a paternity test can be done with only 25 biomarkers. So we have at least 48. So that's good news because we can open. Now, a good implementation or a good idea, we have not done this, is to issue an inheritance NFT, which means you can program a token. So in case of somebody passing away, you can show proof to the biobank, and then you will have you are the owner of that token in life. I mean, it's like inheriting in life, and you will have that proof, right? So NFTs can also capture other events. It's a programmable token, right? So that can also happen, and as long as I can prove, maybe with a little bit of my saliva, that I am the son of this person, then all the data can be transferred to you. Now, that being said, we also offer the family vault, so you can start today, right? Like having mom, dad, grandparents, grandma, and so on and so forth in the vault, which obviously is the best approach in that case, and that wouldn't be necessary. But yeah, it's an excellent question. Most of these functionalities to inherit are not yet in the protocol, but certainly possible, because again, the bio NFTs are software, and it's just a framework and can adapt totally. So super good questions. That's good. Oh, we have more. Lisa Raid says, thank you very much, Raid, for your question. If a couple separates, unfortunately, yeah, it can happen. It can happen. How the NFT is managed? Oh, that's a very good question. So again, in that case, usually couples name a lawyer to have a manager of the assets of the family. That's the usual thing, and then again, that lawyer, that representative can be named, but yeah, this is programmable, right? So it can change so it can adapt to these unfortunate cases. But yeah, it's kind of the tricky questions, right? Are cryptographic wallets inheritable? Yeah, for sure. Again, because the wallet basically is what keeps the private key, right? So the element that is inheritable is the private key. But let's say the person that dies, fortunately, like takes, let's say it takes the private key in their memory, right? Maybe there are persons that have very good memory, and they memorize the 12 words. In that case, would be very difficult. To be honest, it's very challenging. So in essence, yes, it can be done, but it's challenging. Yeah, we would have to create a new one with maybe the same data, but if the data is encrypted using that key, so then it becomes really challenging. So it's an interesting use case. If the person is alive, well, then it's different, because we can recreate using their data a similar key or something, and we can open the vault. But when the people dies and we don't no longer have any sample to match it with, it'll be a challenge. So yeah, that's a good one. So Marianne is with withdrawal consent, how is done to maintain privacy, but be sure the data and the sample is well? Oh, that's an excellent question, and this is because the data, at least in the digital representation of the biosample, the data is owned by the patient, right? So the biobank holds the bits and the bytes, so it stores the data. But again, because of the encryption is managed by the wallet and the tokens, then the access is only granted to third parties if they have a valid token. If the token is revoked by the expression of the revoking of the consent, then is the two things, right? I am revoking consent, and at the same time the token is revoked. Therefore, the access to the data is also revoked. If there is a copy of the data outside the realm of when the data has been disseminated, then it's no longer enforceable by this method, but it's enforceable by laws, right? Because again, it'll be protected by the GDPR or protected by the laws, and you can prove that somebody downloaded, I mean, that a specific person downloaded the question, and you can then audit their databases. Again, we have a very small method called reverse search, where we will be able to look the 96 SNPs again, or the 48 SNPs in a database in a privacy preserving way. So we can say, or at least we can make a statistical approximation if somebody's data is inside a specific database, only using 48 or 96 SNPs. If this is available, so you can enforce now using the data law if it's available. If not, then again, if we're in a country that there's no data laws, well, that's challenging. But yeah, the main idea is to start creating proofs, right? Start creating evidence that somebody had access to your data, that it's named, that is public. And then you have all that proofs. So it's not a perfect system by any means, but we think it's an improvement of Web 2, or the versions of Web 2 as we call them. That, like, this is we call them the Web 3, right? Patient owned or users own data, but it's still challenging in some areas. Yeah. But at least now a public token that has been revoked, and you can show that the token was revoked, right? So this is very important in terms of the feedback that we have received from the regulators, the data, because today there's no proof. Usually you just send an email and you expect the company or the holder of your data to respond, but it's really tricky. Like, they can argue that they never received the email or whatever, right? In this case, it's publicly available, and also at Genobank we notify to the holder that the token was revoked, and they should comply. So that's I mean, we want to empower the patient, right? So back to you, Robert, if I may. I think
yes.
We have another question from Marianne. Thank you very much. It says, how are the tokens attached to a research study where the samples? Oh, this is very good. So each token has each biosample has its own identity, right? So if you had the chance, Marianne, to scan the QR code, I'm going to return just to see if it's useful. This one, it would be fantastic to make a reference to this URL. Like, I mean, sometimes it's challenging because maybe you use, I don't know, maybe 1,000 biosample, right? Or the 1,000 genomes. But now each of those biosamples would have its own identity page, right? So you'll be able to link or to reference the links of the biosamples used. And if you have, again, a consent token from the patient or the patients, you even will be able to access the data. So, or if it's delegated, the consent is delegated by the biobank, if you have the consent from the biobank as well. So yeah, this is I haven't seen any papers yet, but hopefully in the future now you will be able to reference to the bio NFT, right? It's in the transaction in the blockchain. You can reference to the transaction in the blockchain, or you can reference to, in this case, to our Biosample Explorer, right? But yeah, it's a very good question, I think.
So some great questions, Daniel.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I'm excited.
And any more questions from the audience?
Or comments. I mean, comments welcome, like anything that, or later on, obviously, if you want a personal demo or whatever. I mean, I'll be more than happy to book a Zoom session. I'm currently in London, but next week I'll be in California as well. So more than happy to continue the conversation in any regard. Actually, back to your question, Marianne, the last one. I'm writing a book which is called Web3 Genomics, and most of the book is I will give access to my own data set. So it's kind of a bioinformatics slash book, but in order to prove, I think the new features of the blockchain is having access to the data, right? So if you buy the book and you register in Genobank in a named account, I will give consent so you can explore my data sets and yeah, run the bioinformatics pipelines that are there and so on and so. So it will be more for students or for any person that would love, but obviously it's not going to be like super deep in terms of the analysis, but it's more in terms of the governance and access to the data sets. That's really the advantage of Web3, I think, like family owned or individually owned data being able to be token gated, right? That this is really in essence what we're doing. Yeah.
Okay, there's one more question from Marianne.
Oh, yeah, perfect. How do you see this evolving, the issues of sharing samples that happen you and okay? This is fantastic. Just because we are GDPR based, which is really the more the most structured, I would say, or stringent law. Usually, the liquidity from Europe to the rest of the world will be easy because it's like super compliant, and vice versa. Just because, again, we have that like compliance from the design of the token, then we think we can help to increase or to reduce the frictions, right? Let's talk about the frictions, right? Because I think that would be the word to use. There's a lot of friction when you, as you point out, navigating from one data set or data law from another data law jurisdiction, right? But if you are at the top, if you are the top compliant, then we think that solves the issue. So mainly today, we're participating in a lot of forums that talk about the AI-ready data, right? This is like kind of the hottest topic right now. How you legalize the data sets used to train AIs. So this is going to be the topic of the year or the years to come, because basically an LLM, as you know, is in essence is the data sets that been used as to train it, right? in life sciences, in our ecosystem, the main thing you want to check is consent, right? Is first of all. Then obviously the annotations, the quality of annotations, and so on and so forth. But the first thing that regulators will want to know is if you have proper consent. And I think hopefully we can solve that specific request. Like, hey, here's my computer readable. So these again, these NFTs can be read by the AI, and the AI can check if it has consent or not, right? And so again, we see a future where AIs will manage the data, for sure. I think this is going to be the case, and they will be GDPR compliant AIs for sure. They have to be, right, all of them. Otherwise, I think the regulator will shut them down. Hopefully. But I think that, I don't know if the answer is around that, but yeah, I think the technology now allows us to, as patients, to navigate different data, and the token can be, if the GDPR for a specific reason is not necessarily the correct framework, we can adapt it to, like, for instance, in California is the CCPA, right? The California Consumer Privacy Act, which is very similar to GDPR. So there's no problem there. But let's say there's another country or another state that is even more stringent. Well, then the token can be adapted, and you can add other parameters. Yeah.
Hey, well, I think we've done very well. We're almost up to the hour. So are there any other questions? If not, then I'd just like to say thank you very much to Daniel for a really interesting talk.
Thank you.
And thank you to you, the audience, for all your questions.
Thank you, everybody, and hopefully you had a good time and interesting. This is an ongoing conversation. This is very new, so all the comments, all the questions, more than welcome and needed. Yeah, because this is, I mean, we've been working in this area for the past 5 years, but still early. So, and you can say that because of the amount of wallets out there. Yeah, there's at least I think another 2 or 3 years to continue promoting. So again, thank you for the interest. But the good news is now, at least the blockchain is becoming less and less noisy. That has helped to us in terms of the regulations, in terms of the law, or if the cryptocurrencies are being regulated or not. I mean, more frameworks have come, and that has helped us as well to validate the use case, and I think it's really going to help legalize the data sets that AI, because today the catalyzer obviously is AI, and Web3 methods or tokens can help a lot to validate the ownership, the data provenance, the consent, the licensing, and so on and so forth for specific data sets. So I think the future is promising. But thank you very much, Robert. Thank you very much to Biosample Hub team, the audience. It's been a pleasure to be here.